Shalom, everyone. I have another historical story to tell you. We just finished talking about comprehensively the history behind Judah Maccabees, which is around 160 or so BCE. Judah Maccabee, what he did, caught the attention of the God of the universe, Hashem. Because of his existence, because of what he did and what he didn't do, more importantly, we have the soul of Israel today. Israel was reborn in 1948. Nothing short of a miracle. A story that was actually blocked on Facebook, I believe, and dropped from YouTube, and I want to recap it again. I like to name it the Nehemiah Project, but the Nehemiah Project has a lot of different things, and I don't want to get into that. But this story begins with Ezra. Ezra the scribe, Ezra the priest, the ancestor of the Levitical line of the priesthood from Aaron. Now picture this: Ezra, he's probably up in the years, maybe my age or older. And he got the attention of the Persian king there, Artaxerxes. I'm sorry, I'm not good in Persian today. But anyway, he caught the attention of the king there. And he was serving administrative duties there in Persia at that time, in Babylon. And he had the aspiration of going back to Jerusalem. And this was a brief time where the exiled remnant of Israel that was in Babylon, those people that were still observant Jews and had not assimilated as Babylonians or Persians per se, those people that actually cared about the Torah and the laws of Mashiach. Now, Ezra distinguished himself by being a scribe of the Torah. He knew the Torah inside and out. He knew multiple languages, Hebrew and Aramaic, Persian, Babylonian. He knew multiple languages. That's why his duties were so important as an administrator within that area of the world at that time. And he was given gold and silver and a bunch of men from the king's people were sent down to him with a remnant of Israel, leaving Babylon and going back to Israel. When Ezra came to Jerusalem, he literally rent his clothes and wept. He couldn't believe what he saw. He saw Yerushalyim in ruin and desolation. Wild animals going across where there used to be homes and schools and places for people. The Jews, if there were Jews, he didn't recognize them because no one spoke Hebrew there anymore. There was intermarriage going on between Jews and Samaritans. Samaritans pretty much controlled the whole area. Samaria, again, is the Syrian control over the whole area. Most of the Jews have been assimilated into Assyria to the north. And of course, the walls of Jerusalem were totally torn down and collapsed, and the temple was a waste heap. This was the aftermath of the destruction of the Babylonian swordsmen years and years ago. But anyway, Ezra took command and control of this area. He brought priests along with him too from Babylon. He found people that would want to listen to him. You can picture him standing up probably on Temple Mount, Har Habit as we call it. There was no temple there. And he was probably standing in front of the people of Judea there, admonishing them to return to the laws of Moshe. As one priest distinguishing himself there, he said, "You are committing crimes against God by intermarrying with people from a polytheistic culture who were not Jewish." And he mandated immediately, I'll give you a writ of divorce for these foreign women. Send their women and their children back to where they came from. He mandated circumcision for all the men, all the boys, the certification of Jewish marriages. And remember, he said it was a crime against God for this reformed culture to even be there. And he read the Torah, and the people wept when he read the Torah. And he began building the temple. Rededication ceremonies of the temple, the cleansing. Now this is a much smaller aspect of King Solomon's temple. He identified the Holy of Holies, probably constituted a menorah, lit it, virgin olive oil, and probably began minimalistically animal sacrifices. Now, as soon as the people there in Judea heard about Ezra, what he was doing, and the Jews were literally returning to Judea and were fortifying the city again, it got the attention of the Sumerians, and they sent armies there, and they attacked everything Jewish there. They brought down the walls again and brought the city into desolation and despair. Deep despair. 12 years later, Nehemiah heard about what was happening in Judea, and at this time it was King Darius of Persia that he was talking to. Now, Nehemiah was known as a cupbearer, but that was not bearing a cup per se. He had the king's ear. So Nehemiah got permission to go to Judea with a group of people. More remnant Jews came with him to Judea from Babylon, and he took up where Ezra left off. Now, in the Torah and the Tanakh and the Hebrew Bible, there's no indication Ezra was still alive. So Nehemiah began where Ezra left off. He actually, for the first time, as governor of Judea, refortified all the walls, all the breaches. They weren't as high as they used to be, but they were enough to give the Jewish people in Judea a semblance of security. And he began fixing and cleansing and dedicating the temple before Hashem. And this occurred about, Ezra's time in Judea was about 23 centuries ago, 400 and something years BCE. Judah Maccabee was around 160 BCE. And you see how one thing led to another. Now, to wrap this story up, there is a multitude of excuses why we don't have a temple today in Israel. 1948, we declared independence. 1967, the Six-Day War, we won a decisive victory against every Arab nation, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, that declared war against us. And we took back the West Bank, we took back East Jerusalem, we took the Temple Mount Har Habayit, we took all these areas back. Now we gradually gave the land back, or compromised the land, the holy sites. Today, 4 out of 5 Jewish holy sites are under not Jewish control, but Jordanian control, Palestinian Authority control. We say we're waiting for the Mashiach to come before we rebuild the temple. Because we don't have any red heifers. Well, there's a red heifer was born, I think, a year ago. They have a red heifer, a pure red heifer, for the ashes of the red heifer, for Yom Kippur, for the sins of Israel to be atoned for, to official priestly animal sacrifices. All these things there, we have the wood, we have the gold, we have the silver, we have the equipment, we have all these things, supplies sitting in a warehouse. For a long time, for many, many years, have been sitting there and waiting on the Mashiach to come. Now let me ask you, did Ezra say, we need to wait for the Mashiach to come before we rebuild the temple? Did Nehemiah say, we're going to wait for the Mashiach to come before we rebuild the temple? Did Judah Maccabee say, we're going to wait for the Mashiach to rebuild the temple? Did the heathen king, the Hasmonean king Herod, say, we're going to wait for the Mashiach to rebuild the temple? No. None of them said they were waiting on anybody to do anything. They saw the problem. They resolved the problem best to their ability, all of which with God's help. And if you build it, he will come. Don't expect the Mashiach to fix stupid. There's a lot of stupidity in the government in Israel today. Rise up, O Zion. Wake up. Don't expect other people to do the things that God has expected you to accomplish in Israel. Make Israel great again. Shalom Aleichem.